I still remember the sound, that muffled thud that cut through the quiet of dawn. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but when I heard my little boy's voice, that trembling, half-awake sob, I knew it wasn't. I stumbled from the hallway, feet cold against the cracked wooden floor, and froze in the doorway. My mother's hand was wrapped around my son's arm, dragging him off the bed like he was a sack of laundry. Her nails dug into his skin as he whimpered, his tiny legs scrambling for the blanket. "Stop it!" I shouted, my voice catching. "He's just a child!" She didn't even flinch. Her hair was half-tied, robe hanging off her shoulder, eyes glowing with that familiar morning rage she saved for me, and now, apparently, for my son. "He's not crying!" she snapped. "He's performing!" Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. He was 7. Barely 7. Still clutching the toy truck he fell asleep with. His face was blotchy. Tears streaked through his cheeks, breath hitching between frightened hiccups. Mom threw the blanket aside and hit his legs with the back of her hand. "You wake the house up again with your whining," she hissed, "and I'll give you something to cry about." "Mom!" I rushed forward, grabbing her arm, but she spun on me so fast I almost lost my balance. "Don't you touch me," she spat. "You made him weak. You let him think crying gets him love. You're turning him into the same useless mess you are." Behind her, my father was sitting at the table, half hidden by the morning newspaper. His coffee steamed quietly beside him, and the chair creaked when he shifted his weight. He didn't even look up. "Dad," I called, my voice breaking. "Please, tell her to stop." He sighed, finally folding his paper. His eyes met mine, cold and bored. "Stop spoiling worthless trash," he said flatly, before taking another sip of coffee. I felt something inside me collapse, not the kind of break that screams, but the kind that sinks deep and quiet, the kind that leaves you hollow. My son crawled toward me, trembling, whispering, "Mommy, I didn't mean to," before she kicked the toy truck aside, the plastic snapping against the wall. "Get him out of my sight," she said, straightening her robe. "You raised a nuisance, not a boy." I scooped him up, his little body shaking against my chest. His breath smelled like toothpaste and tears. I carried him into the next room and shut the door, locking it, something I never thought I'd need to do in my parents' house. Through the thin walls, I could hear them talking, calmly, almost casually, like what had just happened was routine. Mom laughed. "You know what he said last night?" she told Dad. "He said he missed his father. Can you imagine?" Dad chuckled. Maybe he realized even his father didn't want him. Their laughter trailed through the cracks like poison smoke. I sat there on the floor, clutching my son, feeling his tiny heartbeat against my arm. "You're safe, baby," I whispered, though I didn't believe it. I'd moved back in with them 3 months earlier, after losing my job, after rent swallowed everything. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself they'd changed. But standing there, holding my son while they laughed about him, I realized they hadn't changed. They'd just found a smaller version of me to break. That night, I tucked him into bed beside me. His eyes were red from crying, but he tried to smile. "You're not mad at Grandma?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "I'm not mad," I lied. "I'm just thinking." "About what?" "About how we'll never let anyone talk to you like that again." He fell asleep with his hand in mine. I stared at the ceiling for hours, the moonlight crawling across the cracks like veins. Down the hall, I could hear the soft clinking of glasses, my parents drinking, talking, living like nothing had happened. And when I heard Mom's voice again, that cold whisper drifting through the door, "You're raising a beggar, not a son." Something in me went very still. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just started making plans. Plans for silence. Plans for escape. Plans that, one day soon, would make them understand what it feels like to be worthless trash. It started with bread. Stale, mold-dotted bread tossed onto a plate like prison food. My mother slammed it down in front of my son with the same hand that used to strike me when I was his age. "Eat," she snapped, "or go hungry. I'm not your servant." He blinked at the plate, confused. "It smells bad," he whispered, wrinkling his nose. Before I could speak, my dad chuckled from across the table. "Well, that's what garbage eats, isn't it?" He didn't even look up from his phone. "If you want better, be better." My chest tightened. I reached for the plate, pushed it aside gently. "He's not eating that. I'll make him something else." Mom's mouth twisted. "You're too soft. That's why no man stays with you." That line again. Always that line. "Say it again," I said quietly. "What?" "Go on. Say it again. I want him to hear exactly how little you think of his mother." Her eyes flared. "Don't twist my words." "I'm not twisting anything. You said it. He's right here." I looked at my son. "Did you hear her, baby? That's what your grandmother thinks of your mom." His lip quivered, but he stayed silent. Dad set his phone down slowly. "Are we doing this again? This poor me, I'm the victim performance?" "I'm not performing," I said, standing. "I'm surviving." "Surviving?" Mom barked a laugh. "Under our roof? On our food? On our water? Your survival is our charity." "No," I said, staring straight into her eyes. "My survival is despite you." That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the ceiling as my son slept beside me, and I remembered all the times I thought things were getting better. The birthday she actually called me. The time she said she was proud I'd finally gotten a degree. But all of it had strings. All of it came with a price. I started taking pictures. Of the bruises on my son's arm. Of the plate with moldy bread. Of the words she wrote on his school notebook. "Crybaby, stop lying." I didn't have a plan yet, but I had proof. And in the mornings, when they smiled at the neighbors and said we were one happy family, I smiled back and took mental notes. Mom helped at church. Dad fixed the local school's plumbing for free. To the outside world, they were saints. Inside, they were monsters with masks. One afternoon, I overheard them laughing in the kitchen again. I was walking past with laundry when I froze. "She's almost out of savings," Mom said. "Another month and she'll be begging us to keep the boy." Dad sipped something. "Maybe we should get custody. She's not stable. We could say she's neglecting him." My vision tunneled. "She won't fight back," Mom said. "She never has. She doesn't even have friends." "Exactly," Dad replied. "Just like we raised her." That night, I called an old friend. Jess, someone I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. "Please," I whispered into the phone. "I just need one thing. Somewhere to go for a few weeks. You don't even have to see me, just me and my son. We'll sleep on the floor." She didn't even pause. "Pack your things." That was the first time I cried in weeks. But I didn't leave right away. Not yet. Because something in me didn't just want escape. I wanted understanding. I wanted them to feel what they had made me feel my entire life. The very next morning, I came into the kitchen while they were drinking coffee, all relaxed and victorious. I sat down, calm, collected. "I've been thinking," I said. "Maybe I am too soft. Maybe you're right." Mom smirked. "Took you long enough." Dad folded his arms. "Well, there's hope for you yet." "I want to say thank you," I continued, "for raising me, for feeding us, for keeping us here." Mom leaned back, pleased with herself. "You're welcome, dear. It's about time you grew up." That night, I made pancakes with blueberries for my son and let him stay up past bedtime. We danced to an old song in the living room while they argued about the electricity bill in the other room. 2 nights later, I watched my mother pull him by the ear when he dropped a cup, and I said nothing, just watched. My son looked at me, confused. And that's when I knew he didn't just need escape, he needed closure, and I needed to show him the truth, not just of what we were running from, but who we really were running from. So I waited for the right moment. And when it came, I didn't run. I disappeared. The morning we left, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that means danger. My son clung to me as I packed the last of his clothes in a small duffel bag. He didn't ask questions this time. He'd stopped asking weeks ago. I whispered, "Stay close to me, okay? Don't make a sound." But before we reached the door, Mom's voice sliced through the silence like a blade. "Where do you think you're going?" She stood in the kitchen doorway, robe cinched tight, coffee mug in hand. Dad leaned against the counter, unreadable. The smell of burnt toast hung in the air. "I'm leaving," I said. "We're leaving." Mom smiled faintly, like she'd been waiting for this. "You think you can just walk out? With him?" "Yes." She laughed, sharp and cruel. "Where will you go? You can't even afford to fix your own car. You'll be crawling back within a week." "Maybe," I said. "But I'd rather crawl free than walk under your roof." That wiped the smile off her face. Dad's voice came next, calm but heavy. "You'll regret this. The world doesn't want broken women with crying kids. You're lucky we even let you stay." I turned to face them both fully. "No, I'm unlucky that I had to." For the first time, they both fell silent. My son tugged at my hand, his voice barely a whisper. "Mommy, please, let's go." And we did. Out the door, down the cracked front steps, into the gray morning. My car barely started, but it did. I didn't look back. But the story didn't end there. Because 2 weeks later, they came looking. Not out of love, not out of worry, but out of pride. They wanted control back. They called, left voicemails. Mom's voice on the phone was syrupy sweet. "We just want to talk. Bring our grandson over, don't be dramatic." Then came the texts. "Ungrateful. You'll pay for this. He belongs with us." So I let them come. Jess's house was small but warm, with curtains that smelled like detergent and cinnamon. When Mom knocked, she wore her pearls and fake kindness like armor. Dad stood beside her, arms folded, pretending this was a misunderstanding. I opened the door halfway. My son hid behind me. "You look tired," Mom said softly. "You can't live like this. It's not good for him." "You're right," I said. "He deserves better." "Then come home." I smiled. "Oh, I didn't mean your home." Her face twitched, eyes narrowing. That's when I stepped aside. Behind me, on the kitchen wall, Jess had pinned a series of photos, each one printed, labeled, time-stamped. Bruises, dates, the moldy bread. The scratches on my son's arm, every cruel word written down. And at the center, a voice recorder, already playing. Mom's voice, distorted but clear. "He's not crying, he's performing. You let him act like trash, and he'll grow up like trash." Dad's laugh followed. "Stop spoiling worthless. Garbage." Their faces drained. Jess stood behind me with folded arms. "You should probably go, and maybe call a lawyer before I do." Mom tried to speak, stammered something about jokes, context, family business. But the words stuck in her throat. Dad's voice broke first. "You think anyone's gonna believe you? You're nothing." I met his eyes. "I don't need anyone to believe me. I just need my son to remember what truth sounds like." He looked past me, at the boy clutching my hand. "You ungrateful—" "Don't finish that," I said. "You've said enough for a lifetime." They left without another word. That night, I sat with my son on Jess's porch. He watched the stars quietly, his head on my shoulder. "Are we safe now?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Not yet, but safer than before." He hesitated, then said softly, "Grandma's mean." I smiled sadly. "Yes, but that's her story. Ours is different." Weeks passed. Calls stopped. The silence that used to terrify me now felt like freedom. My son started laughing again. Small, hesitant laughs that grew stronger each day. Months later, I got a job. A small apartment. Nothing fancy. Just ours. One morning, I heard him giggling in his room. He was building a fort with blankets. "Mommy!" he called. "Come see!" I peeked inside. It was dark, but warm. "What is this?" "It's a castle," he said proudly. "No bad people allowed." I sat beside him, smiling through tears. That's perfect. He leaned against me, whispering, "You're not weak, Mommy." And for the first time in years, I believed it. Because somewhere between the pain and the silence, I realized my revenge wasn't in making them suffer. It was in teaching my son that love doesn't have to hurt. That was the real ending. And it was enough. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.